Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us. It is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. I am with Robert Shirabo Nyonyitono and Julie Nantaba Mosesi. Together, we drive you into this fresh new day, the last day of April 2025. Today is the 30th of April 2025, and tomorrow will be the 1st of May, which will also be Labor Day. For some of you, it will be a public holiday, but it's important for us to remember why we commemorate Labor Day. And this goes back to 1886, when workers at the time in the United States had protests all over the United States trying to ensure that workers at least could have 8-hour days of work. So if you work 9 to 5, you need to understand where that came from. But of course, across the years, over the years, we've had different efforts geared towards protecting the rights of workers and ensuring that workers are paid and paid favorably, but also that they are listened to regarding the different grievances that they might have in different aspects and in the different industries and sectors where they work. So as we get into Labor Day, I need you to remember that we've come a long way, especially for us women. It's a story for another day, but for us to join the workforce, it was not a walk in the park. Now, speaking about women, today is Women Crush Wednesday. I wonder which woman you are crushing on. I choose to crush on single moms today. What you do is not as something that is for the faint of heart. I saw someone the other day saying that being a single mother is akin to being the striker, the defender, the goalkeeper, and everything, and I couldn't agree more. So today, I crush on you, the work you do, raising your children and making ends meet. We commend you for that. Now, that being said, Julie is back with us today. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Olive. So good to be back and to be in higher spirits than the past days. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV, and good morning, Uganda. Now, as Olive has crushed on single moms, on this Wednesday, I choose to crush on women who support each other. Women who are always on the lookout for fellow women, who are always ready to fix the other lady's crown when it's falling off or when it's crooked. I celebrate you. So usually as women, we have groups, prayer partners, people you talk to whenever it's hard, whenever it's heavy, and they still protect your integrity and your space. And so I celebrate women who do exactly that. But on this 30th day of April, which is the last day of this month, my goodness, the year is running so fast. It feels like yesterday was just the 1st of January. But on this day, if you are a lover of classical type of music, it's International Jazz Day. And it's a day by the United Nations to make the public aware of the importances of jazz music. So if you are the classic type of human being, well, today is a day for you to celebrate International Jazz Day. But still, yesterday, the University of Kyambogo suspended the guild president of Kyambogo University, and as well as 16 other students for holding a protest against tuition fees. They felt that the university has unfair tuition policies, and they took to a protest, but unfortunately they ended up suspended until 1 month later when their suspension will end. But for now, they are not allowed on the university premises.
Wow, that's it.
Very unfortunate. And sometimes what annoys me is that people that come up with these policies, one, during their days, as long as you made to senior 6, you had free education at university. So they don't understand what these students go through and their parents. 2, still, if you graduated, a job was automatic. And as we speak, they're in good positions. They can freely pay tuition for their children. But they forget that some of these come from families where it's very hard, and the child is protesting because they know that their future is being ruined.
Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fine. Today, is this the hairstyle you had since Monday?
No.
You look... ochikuye.
Oh, wow.
You're looking good.
Interesting.
Now for me, I don't have very good news for my brothers in Bulamuli now. These are the flood victims and survivors. Government had promised to buy them land and resettle them. But now government says they have halted the process because the land they had proposed to buy for them has issues. Now, President Museveni directed Minister of Finance, and 50 billion Uganda shillings was earmarked and deposited in Post Bank. Now, 10 billion is going to buy the land. I wonder in Bulamuli, that side, the land worth 10 billion must be very big. 10 billion is to buy land. Then the remaining 40 billion, each of these families of the survivors is to get 10 million shillings. Now, what baffles and disturbs me, I don't know in this day and age, if for sure you can get a big piece of land worth 10 billion that has no conflict, has no postling on it, and I keep asking myself, why doesn't government give these people money? Maybe a year, because it may become hard to find that big chunk of land worth 10 billion in that side. It must be a very big piece of land, and it may be very uncommon to find that there are no issues regarding that land. Otherwise, our brothers may take longer. They are in the camp where they are, where conditions are not even very good to get that land. I highly doubt.
Interesting. Well, today, the 30th of April, in Uganda's history, today, 30th of April 1962, is the day Apollo Milton Obote was formally appointed as the Prime Minister of Uganda by the Governor, Sir Walter Coates. And this event marked a significant step towards Uganda's independence, as Obote's leadership would lead the country to self-governance and later full independence on 9th October 1962. So this day in Uganda's history is actually a pivotal moment. But when you do so much negativity, it's even forgotten that once you were the beacon of light. And this is evidence in Obote's case. Well, let's get into our local news.
Well, the Ministry of Education and Sports has celebrated the belated International Day of Education on the global theme Artificial Intelligence and Education, Preserving Human Agency in a World of Automation. This year's theme is localized to focus on promoting an employer-led TVET system which is functional, effective, and efficient to meet the needs of the labor market. President Museveni said the solution is universal education, although he is disappointed by the implementation of free education having faced resistance by head teachers and parents teachers associations. The initiative of the Presidential Skilling Hub has helped many out-of-school youth acquire skills for self-employment. The Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Museveni, said the global theme requires reflection on the relationship between artificial intelligence and human capital development. At least 45 out of 178 local governments are fully catered and covered with TVET institutions, and the ministry has finished the coding of 9 presidential pledged institutions. The ambassador of the European Union to Uganda, Jan Shadek, said as they introduce artificial intelligence in education, they must not forget that human connection remains central in learning, while the United Nations representative recommended continued investment in science and technology. The Democratic Party president, Norbert Mao, picked nomination forms seeking a 4th term as DP presidential candidate and president. Norbert Mao, who has been at the driving seat since 2010, said DP needs to be reunited and this can only happen with his leadership. Mao has of recent been faced with huge criticism over the cooperation agreement he made with the NRM party with critics claiming that he sold the party. The Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Norbert Mao, also appointed his recent critic, Mukasambide, as his campaign manager. DP will hold its delegates conference on 30th of this month, which is today, in Mbarara City. The Equal Opportunities Commission, EOC, has urged political parties in Uganda to reconsider the high nomination and campaign fees required for aspirants seeking elective positions. The Equal Opportunities Commission chairperson, Safia Narule Juko, noted that exorbitant fees prevent marginalized groups like women, youth, and persons with disabilities from participating in the electoral process. She was meeting the Secretary General of political parties and officials from the Electoral Commission at the Equal Opportunities Commission headquarters in Kampala. In remembrance of the lives lost to HIV/AIDS, the Uganda AIDS Commission alongside its partners are preparing for a heartfelt Candlelight Memorial Day in commemoration of the International Candlelight Memorial Day to stand with those that have lost their loved ones to HIV/AIDS. The chairperson, board of the Uganda AIDS Commission, Dr. Ruth Senyonyi, said the event is not just a commemoration, but a call to action to continue supporting those living with HIV/AIDS, their families, while fighting the stigma surrounding this epidemic. The day will be commemorated on the 16th of May this very year, starting with a walk from City Square, now known as Constitutional Square, to Uganda AIDS Commission. And with that, we come to the end of our local stories.
Now let's have a look at our international news, where US President Donald Trump has celebrated the 100th day of his second term in office with a campaign-style speech touting his achievements and targeting political foes. Hailing what he called a revolution of common sense, he told a crowd of supporters in Michigan that he was using his presidency to deliver profound change. The Republican mocked his Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, and aimed fresh criticism at the U.S. Federal Reserve's chairman, while dismissing polls that show his own popularity slipping. Trump has delivered a dramatic fall in the number of migrants crossing illegally into the U.S., but the economy is a potential political vulnerability as he wages a global trade war. "We have just gotten started. You haven't seen anything yet," Trump told the crowd on Tuesday in a suburb of Detroit. Speaking at the hub of America's automotive industry, Trump said car firms were lining up to open new manufacturing plants in the Midwestern state. Earlier in the day, he softened a key element of his economic plan, tariffs on the import of foreign cars and car parts, after U.S. car makers warned of the danger of rising prices. At his rally, Trump also said opinion polls indicating his popularity had fallen were quote-unquote fake. Now moving on, Pakistan's Minister for Information and Broadcasting says Islamabad has credible intelligence that India intends to launch a military strike within the next 24 to 36 hours as tensions between the two countries escalate following a deadly attack in Indian-administered Kashmir. In a social media post early on Wednesday, Atullah Tara accused India of using last week's attack in Pahalgam, which killed 26 tourists, as a false pretext to potentially strike Pakistan. The minister, did not provide any concrete information to back up his claim, and the Indian government did not immediately comment publicly on the allegations. Any act of aggression will be met with a decisive response. India will be fully responsible for any serious consequences in the region, Tara said in the post on X. Pakistani Minister of Defense Khawaja Muhammad Asif also told the Reuters news agency on Monday that a military incursion by India was imminent. Islamabad is on a high alert but will only use its nuclear weapons if, quote-unquote, there is a direct threat to our existence, said Asif. Now coming back to East Africa, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo have agreed to draft a peace deal by May 2nd, committing to respect each other's sovereignty and refraining from providing military support to armed groups. DRC Foreign Minister Therese Kaikwamba Wagner and her Rwandan counterpart Olivier Nduhungirehe signed the agreement in a tense meeting in Washington, D.C. on Friday, in which the two did not shake hands. The deal, part of a diplomatic efforts to end the violence in eastern DRC, came 2 days after Qatar brokered an unexpected truce between the African nations. The United States brought the two countries' foreign ministers together and voiced an interest in investment in the DRC's turbulent but mineral-rich east, where fighting between DRC forces and M23 rebels has intensified since January. The M23 has captured key cities in the east in a campaign that has left thousands dead. The US and the United Nations experts say M23 is backed by Rwanda, which has repeatedly denied the charge, saying it is defending its security against hostile militias operating in the DRC, including remnants of the Hutu-led group behind the 1994 genocide. Well, that does it for our international news. Now let's have a look at the newspapers.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Olive. And in the dailies today, starting with the new vision, government admissions and how schools performed. 2,515 admitted to universities, full list inside, and proud to see my school on that list as number 8. But in the pictorial there is King Oyo calls for restoration of wildlife corridors, and the city tycoon faints, dies in gym. Sad. Dorothy Chisaka's new book with the title Lead Shift, and President First Lady mark Education Day. That is in the new vision. Let's have a look at what's in the Daily Monitor. Boy jailed for killing girlfriend on first date. Wow, murder she ruled. The High Court in Kampala has sentenced a 16-year-old boy to a maximum of 3 years in jail without appeal after pleading guilty to killing his girlfriend, whom he had met online. Wow. Anyways, from Pride Microfinance to Pride Bank, that is in the Daily Monitor. And I am still the one with vision for DP, says Mao. And AGOA dilemma standing in way of Uganda-US trade. But the Lizard also says in regards to Mao's declaration, it seems he has learnt a lot in cabinet. But road to 2026, soldier, 5 others seek to unseat Katuntu from Bugweri County. And Excel in PLE is there in the Daily Monitor, as well as online lenders are trapping desperate Ugandans in debt. That is a story in the Daily Monitor. Now let us look at what is in the Citizen. Mobile bank customers lose 5.3 billion to fraudsters. And very sad indeed. But also MPs call for postpaid power connection. That's in the Citizen. Government pledges reforms to boost intellectual freedom. And 75% of national TV stations flout broadcasting rules. That is a report that the Citizen has. But also Rosalind takes the helm at MCL as new managing director. Now in the Daily Nation, CS Mutua's Qatar policy jobs fiasco. That is a story in the Daily Nation. Also there, Kenyans desperate for jobs abroad are losing their cash to rogue recruitment agencies. These untouchable architects of the con games continue to rip off victims lured by false promises of a breakthrough in life. But it is grand betrayal when jobless Kenyans are now fleeced through a state-backed program. That is in the Daily Nation. Secrets of talks on 2027 opposition coalition against Ruto, and how CCTV footage exposed bankers in plot to kill a teacher. And finally, opposition leaders and activists demand prompt arrest of killer officers after expose. That is in the Daily Nation. That also brings us to the end of that brief look at what's in the dailies. Good morning.
Well, from the dailies, there is so much more to dig into, so you should buy yourself a paper and get more details regarding the stories that we have shared. But now we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will be speaking matters human trafficking, the case of 19 Ugandans being repatriated from Myanmar by the Thai government, but many more are still stranded in Myanmar. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Is akin to being the striker, the defender, the goalkeeper, and everything, and I couldn't agree more. So today, I crush on you, the work you do, raising your children and making ends meet. We commend you for that. Now, that being said, Julie is back with us today. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Olive. So good to be back and to be in higher spirits than the past days. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV, and good morning, Uganda. Now, as Olive has crashed on single moms, on this Wednesday, I choose to crash on women who support each other. Women who are always on the lookout for fellow women, who are always ready to fix the other lady's crown when it's falling off or when it's crooked. I celebrate you. So usually as women, we have groups, prayer partners, people you talk to whenever it's hard, whenever it's heavy, and they still protect your integrity and your space. And so I celebrate women who do exactly that. But on this 30th day of April, which is the last day of this month, my goodness, the year is running so fast. It feels like yesterday was just the 1st of January. But on this day, if you are a lover of classical type of music, it's International Jazz Day. And it's a day by the United Nations to make the public aware of the importances of jazz music. So if you are the classic type of human being, well, today is a day for you to celebrate International Jazz Day. But still, yesterday, the University of Kyambogo suspended the guild president of Kyambogo University, and as well as 16 other students for holding a protest against tuition fees. They felt that the university has unfair tuition policies, and they took to a protest, but unfortunately they ended up suspended until 1 month later when their suspension will end. But for now, they are not allowed on the university premises.
Wow, that's it.
Very unfortunate. And sometimes what annoys me is that people that come up with these policies, one, during their days, as long as you made to senior 6, you had free education at university. So they don't understand what these students go through and their parents. 2, still, if you graduated, a job was automatic. And as we speak, they're in good positions. They can freely pay tuition for their children. But they forget that some of these come from families where it's very hard. And the child is protesting because they know that their future is being ruined.
Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fine. Today, is this the hairstyle you had since Monday?
No.
You look... Ochikuye.
Oh, wow.
You're looking good.
Interesting.
Now for me, I don't have very good news for my brothers in Bulamuli now. These are the flood victims and survivors. Government had promised to buy them land and resettle them. But now government says they have halted the process because the land they had proposed to buy for them has issues. Now, President Museveni directed Ministry of Finance and 50 billion Uganda shillings was earmarked and deposited in Post Bank. Now, 10 billion is going to buy the land. I wonder in Bulamuli, that side, the land worth 10 billion must be very big. 10 billion is to buy land. Then the remaining 40 billion, each of these families of the survivors is to get 10 million shillings. Now, what baffles and disturbs me, I don't know in this day and age, if for sure you can get a big piece of land worth 10 billion.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
It is Good Morning Uganda, and this is our newsreel. Now, according to reports, 19 Ugandans are set to be repatriated back to the country. Now, the alarming rise in human trafficking cases involving Ugandans, particularly those lured into scam rings in Myanmar and exploited in Southeast Asia, underscores a growing global crisis. These reports of 19 Ugandans that are set for repatriation also indicate that 30 Ugandans are still stuck back in Myanmar in some of these rings and are waiting to be rescued by the government. Now, this issue is driven by complex interplay of socioeconomic factors, deceptive recruitment practices, and gaps in government oversight. In this discussion, we will unpack the root causes of increased trafficking and, of course, evaluate Uganda's government's role in this and how Ugandans can be brought back home safely. But first of all, let's have a look at what really happened. How did Ugandans end up stuck in Myanmar? My name is Olive Monica Najoma, together with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Julie F. Nantaba Musisi. Robert, I'll start with you. How did we get here? How did our people get stuck in Myanmar?
Well, thank you, Olive, but let me first begin with the definition of human trafficking, because someone may wonder the whole conversation is rotating around human trafficking. Now, human trafficking is the act of recruiting, transporting, transferring, harboring or receiving individuals through force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of exploitation. This exploitation may include forced labor, sexual slavery, or other forms of commercial sex exploitation. Now, it simply means that these people were taken without knowing exactly the purpose why they were being taken, because that is what makes human trafficking very clear. To begin with, this case has been around, or it came to the limelight when it was on the floor of Parliament. And I remember our shadow minister for foreign affairs, Honorable Muwada Nkunyinji, who also doubles as the member of Parliament for that is Chadondo. He came on the floor of Parliament and said he had received complaints that actually they were Ugandans stranded in this war-torn country along the border of Thailand. Now, first we must understand that the country we are talking about, it is a big portion of it is occupied by rebels. Now, these Ugandans were promised different jobs, and not in Myanmar, actually. None of them, I've seen some that came out and they are all over social media that were rescued or repatriated to Uganda. And when each of them gives you their story, no one tells you that actually were recruited for rebel activities. Many of them were promised good jobs in Thailand. And they were taken in different shifts, definitely, to Thailand. Now, when they reached Thailand, remember one of the gentlemen who was repatriated back home said they were put in a van and told you are traveling at night to your destination of work, only to end up in rebel centers. And once they were there, those that brought them abandoned them, and that's when they woke up to the reality that actually you're now in rebel centers. And the only good news comes out. Remember last year, when these rebels had almost reached their peak, there was a lot of international pressure on them. And among the pressure that was put on them was to release these people were trafficked. Now, this is where a number of governments came in after knowing that, yes, we have our people there, they are stranded, and they want to be brought home. And for now, I want to end with a phrase that I find Olive very interesting. It says, a traveler who does not listen to advice often finds themselves lost. Yes.
Often finds themselves what?
Lost. A traveler who does not listen to advice often find themselves lost.
Wow, interesting perspective. But Robert, let's look at some of the reasons why we have our people being trafficked to different countries. When I look around, research shows that poverty and unemployment is a precursor. And according to reports, they indicate that poverty and high unemployment rates, especially among Uganda's youth and primary drivers of human trafficking, vulnerability, the people that are vulnerable to being trafficked. So how do you think structural and economic challenges in Uganda, how do they fuel trafficking cases?
First, I want to say Ugandans are risk takers to begin with, because even those that are not trafficked find themselves in these areas. Let me tell you, among East African member states, if there is any country you want to go to and you need workers to work in a war-torn zone, you have the Ugandans. You're not going to get people from Tanzania. Hakuna wewe, they will not come. Neither will the Kenyans come. Neither will the Sudanese come.
What do you mean?
But Ugandans are risk takers. You tell them there is one South Sudan, but there is money. For us, we shall come. So that is one thing I've come to learn. But two, when we talk about poverty, some of these people that have been repatriated, because we've had about now 3 shifts of Ugandans coming back. We had one on the 6th of May last year. We had on the 9th. We're expecting another shift on the 1st. These ones that are coming. Now, some of these people are not what you would call not educated. That there's that sector, like those we see traveling to Saudi. Some of these are educated people who, even if they remained here, they may have failed to get a job, but they're not in that, you know, there's that, the poorest among the poor. That may be these, and also remember that these traffickers, there's money you give. That is the hurting bit of it.
Yes, here is the thing, Robert. Yes, they may not be the poorest of the poor, but still they are poor in the sense of they don't have jobs.
Now, why am I trying first to begin with the element? Yes, I accept poverty will push you to go anywhere, however desperate it is. But here you'll find that the key moving factor here is ignorance. The key moving factor here, because I want to tell you, if you listen to many of these young boys who are repatriated home, a person tells you, I injected 8 million. A person tells you, I injected 10 million, because they were promised a job, Olive, that is going to give them so much a month. So they had, you see, these traffickers, what hurts me, they take money from you, and where they are going to sell you in the hands of rebels, they're also getting money. So a person who can raise 8 million, a person who can raise 10 million to facilitate this thing, that person, we may not say that they are really poor, but the thing is, that's why I said some are professionals. But the thing is, because they are not aware, they have not done research, they are ignorant. That's why I said a traveler who does not listen to advice or seek advice ends up being lost. If a person tells you, I was a nurse in Uganda, I was promised that nurses in Thailand a month get 5 million. But someone to work on my papers asked me for 8 million. So I had to save the 8 million, hand it over, because I was very sure if I've been getting here maybe 800, and I'm going to work in Thailand and get 3 million a month, it is worth an investment. So it's basically lack of information. Ignorance, and maybe not a lot of research for some people before they make their movements.
Okay, thank you.
Perhaps it also comes with the excitement. Because I mean, for some, they are told that they are making more money. And if you think about it, life the other side is more expensive than it is, the cost of living. So in other words, someone is promised 2 million at the end of the month, but by the time they spend on whatever they need, they are ideally at the same footing as they were in Uganda.
Well, in Uganda, most of them didn't have jobs. There is also that perspective, because there are cases, according to reports, where the family puts together money for this person to go. And majority of these people are funded by the family. So it's not that they are leaving jobs here that are not well paying. They are leaving because they don't have the jobs back home. And there is the argument that why don't they use that money to start a business? But for some reason, we do not support people to start businesses. We come in when something has gone wrong. We do not support people during ill health, but we'll come in to support when they die and throw them a big barrier. Now, Julie, when we look at the ways Ugandans leave the country and the promises of lucrative jobs abroad, they end up facing exploitation. So what do you think is what role do you think is do unregulated recruitment agencies play in this crisis, and how are they exploiting gaps in oversight to trafficked individuals?
Well, the mere fact that unregulated agencies are not ideally paying taxes, that's why they are unregulated. So their offers usually are too good. Too good. It seems like it's less of a cost. It's backdoor, less of a cost. There's less monitoring, so usually they sound sweeter. For most Ugandans, they are more convincing, and that's why most people opt for unregulated routes that are seemingly easy and very enticing. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, Ugandans end up in trouble and now start calling on the government to help them, the government that was never included in the first place. So I think most times it's because we want fast things.
So in your opinion, what do you think people who aspire to leave the country for greener pastures, because leaving the country for greener pastures is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
What advice would you give them, especially most of them are these young and desperate to make some money?
Yes, there are agencies that are really monitored by the government. They are known by the Ministry of Gender and Labor. So at least use those routes.
How do they identify the crooks?
Well, their licenses. At least I know that there's documentation. It's an electronic.
To chip in.
No, let her finish her.
It's an era of the internet. Go to the Ministry of Labor and Gender site and look up. If I'm using this particular organization, a travel agency, is it registered? Does the government know it? Look it up on the internet.
Okay.
You know, is there evidence of it being tagged to the ministry, to the ministry's site? If at all it's nowhere on the ministry's site, then that's a warning that perhaps it could not be, it's not a place I should work, it's not an organization I should work with.
Okay, now that works for a Ugandan like me. I'm educated, I have access to the internet, I can go on a website, I can, you know, source information. But let's also look at the other Ugandans that still end up being trafficked to countries like Jordan. Most of these are some of the people that have worked in our homes as house helps, and then later she's like, auntie, I'm leaving, I'm going to work abroad. Okay, and most of these ones are either semi-literate or illiterate. So how can these ones be helped? Because in most cases they base on third-person information of Auntie Olive said.
I know, but Olive, one thing I know for sure is when you are headed somewhere, when you are taking steps to an achievement, there is no way you can lack help whatsoever in your way. It doesn't matter whether you're literate or illiterate. There's a pool of people to talk to. By the time Auntie Olive is my boss, and I share.
That is the one privilege to have Auntie Olive as her boss.
Then
there is one somewhere in Kanungu, deep in the village.
Yes, but who is the people she's talking to?
That's why I say let me chip in a little
Okay.
bit. Okay, this is what government has done. Government has ensured that every district we have an RDC.
Yes,
Or
yes.
an
True.
RCC. Now, what government through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development have done is that every office of the RDC, every district where we have a labour officer, they make sure they regularly forward a list of all licensed
Yes.
and accredited agencies. Now, when you come to Kampala, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is at Simbamanyo building, just behind SIP, Central
SIP,
Police
yes,
Station.
yeah.
Now, the moment you enter their front desk, they have a specific person put there and a special desk to help you on verifying who is taking you out of Uganda. But when it comes to this human trafficking we are talking about, the Myanmar case, many of these do not go through these agencies. It is an Olive who will send a Chirabo in Uganda, and Robert comes and says, find me some youth who want to work in Thailand. This is a hot deal. Now, the person taking these people is not an agency. So I receive a phone call, you receive a phone call, I tell you, bring me your passport, you know, me have been there, my colleague is there, abantu. So it is me, an individual. I get the info, I get the monies from you, I ask for your document, they know how tactful they will process the movements, and some when you find them moving, you want, this by even told, don't tell anyone you're going. You know, there's this saying, people baja biro guy. There's all you've talked about that class of, when you're having a journey, you're moving out of the country, and you tell people, they usually use that tactic, keep quiet. Even the day you're going, let them know when you've gotten there. So the girls she's talking about, one, they won't tell anybody because they have been told not to speak. Sometimes they even be deceived to say, I'm going, this is my uncle, the wife gave birth, so I'm going to look after the wife, then I'm returning. So even when you meet them and you want to help them, these traffickers have empowered them that even you, they will deceive you.
They have not empowered them, Robert. They have
manipulated them.
Yeah,
because remember one time I did a story with a gentleman called Moses Binoga, who was heading the Uganda Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. But if you, every week we had girls that are coming in. But if they told you how they left Uganda, some that even at the airport start to detect, the person will pretend like they know each other very, very well. This is my girlfriend.
So, Robert, let me come in then. Let's look at government awareness campaigns, because from what I hear, from what you're sharing with us, is that the government has put in place certain resources and human resource to ensure that people are not manipulated and that people seek out the help of companies that are registered by the government. However, the underlying issue I see here is that there is still ignorance among the populace, and that's why we end up with human trafficking cases. So I would like for you to tell me, how effective have these efforts been in reducing, like the efforts of the government, the efforts on awareness? How effective have they been in trying to curb the rising cases of human trafficking? Or we have all these things on paper, but awareness campaigns are still lacking?
And I want to thank you so much with the sentence you ended with, awareness. I want to fault my government. There has not been much awareness that has been put to end human trafficking. When we have disease outbreaks, I want to tell you, you will see the awareness we put in. When we had COVID, when we had Mpox, which is still with us, recently we celebrated the end of Ebola.
Yes.
So this is something that government has not put in so much, and yet has the departments, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the immigration. You know, how many people know that even at the district, I can know labor agencies or companies that have been credited. Most of the times, we see our government come in when things have gone bad. You know, even Parliament, how often do we talk about these issues? Our girls, unless when someone returns and we are told there's one kidney missing out of the two, then she was created that way. So these are the challenges. Awareness, you know, information is power. When you have information, so government has left it to you who is traveling to look for them, not them to come to you. And I find this a big challenge. We need government to move out, because the cost of repatriating these people is high. Air ticket, what they go through is high. Some of them may not even make it back. Others, even if they came back, their lives will never be the same, being in the hands of rebels. So,
because we really don't know what they're being subjected to. I've seen reports of them being harassed and others being beaten, and so much more that probably some people may not even share, which brings me, Julie, to the other question. What kind of support should government give to those that are returned?
Oh, a lot with, like you've mentioned, that we do not know what really happens to them on the other side. There's a lot of sexual exploitation. There's a lot of exploitation in all manner. And at the end of the day, they need rehabilitation. They need to be counseled. Their mental health is at that point distorted, and it needs to be brought back to life. So in that case, that means government needs to intentionally have rehabilitation centers for human trafficking victims. Those that are specific, not on a general whole, but those are very, very specific for those who have been, who are victims of human trafficking. And that means even going down to case by case and having experts who deal with these cases for an individual until their process of healing has taken some form of shape. So I think majorly the government needs to have rehabilitation centers, and not just general rehabilitation centers, but specific rehabilitation centers for victims of human trafficking.
I like that perspective, by the way. I think psychosocial help will be extremely paramount for these returnees. And the Uganda's ambassador to Thailand, that is Miss Betty Bigombe, says that over 37 Ugandans are still stuck in Myanmar. 37 are not part of the 19 that are being repatriated, but they're working with governments of Thailand, the government of Myanmar. And why we are talking about Thailand, it's because they are being held in rebel camps near the Thailand border, in Myanmar, but near the Thailand border. And since Myanmar, like Robert told us, is raged by war and has many rebel groups, it's, I think, easier to work with a government that is more calm, but also because that is where our mission is. Our embassy is in Thailand, so we are working with the government of Thailand, which is also working with the government of Myanmar to locate our people and bring them back home. And for the families whose people are being brought back, that is, I believe that that is really much comfort to you. So, Julie, last remarks. the government has trained police and prosecutors on victim-centered investigations. Yet, we are still seeing cases of misclassification of cases, and corruption remains a big issue. So as we close your parting shot, what steps should the government take to enhance law enforcement's capacity to investigate and prosecute traffickers effectively?
Oh, thank you, Olive, for that. Well, thank God we have the Act of 2009 on the Ugandan law to help with human trafficking, and this one in particular deals with those who have done aggravated human trafficking. If it's their parents, sexual exploitation, if it affects children, their case is death, life sentencing by law. So you realize that the government has put in place different avenues and is still improving as the years go by. But the act that we still follow is that of 2009. But more to that, like Robert stated, the awareness is still minimal. Yeah, that means as intense as the government is always when it comes to cases of disease in Uganda, when we see how COVID, how energetic and how intense the COVID sensitization was, that means even for human trafficking, it needs to be intensified right from the law. The masses need to be educated. In simple terms, educated and sensitized right from grassroots level, village meetings, those village meetings we usually have. There should be Sundays where we are taught just about human trafficking.
Thank you so much, Julie. I think that would be a brilliant approach. Now, Grace Chikozi, watching from Naguru, says the government should come up with a clear structure on how to deal with such cases. And then the next comment from Benjamin says, hello UBC, well done and thanks for such a program. Indeed, the discussion about human trafficking is very crucial, as many of our people in search for greener pastures are facing a lot, mostly in countries like Dubai, Saudi Arabia, among others, whereby they face harassment even when they are sick. They are not given any room to rest, and even poor seeking of medical intervention. But it all comes as a result of severe unemployment among the youths in the country. Thank you so much, Benjamin, and the others. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We'll take a short break. The show continues.
Public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange. Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
We are still on the vintage journey and it's quite interesting. We are bringing you a whole different experience again. Welcome on the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. My name is Zakia Lucky. We are still in Brim's Heritage Resource Center, and with me is a book that was published in 1994. Just like how you get to your phone and you have a contact list, this book had all the contacts. So whenever you purchased a SIM card, you were given a book that has all the contacts that you have to call, which is quite interesting. And the contacts were just 6 digits, unlike today where we have 10 digits for numbers, I can say. We are with Mr. Emmanuel again, who is going to be telling us now how this was published and what it has inside and how it connects to the phones or the telephones that were used back in the days. We are very happy to have you again, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you very much.
Yes, please say hello to the viewers.
Good morning, viewers. I'm happy to be here once again.
Yes, the book that you're holding about, we would like to know the information that was published in that book and how it relates to the phones that were used back in the days.
Thank you very much. So around this time and in the early days, we did not have the luxury of carrying phone contacts along with us, because the kind of communication gadgets that we had were fixed. They were either in an office or home. You couldn't, for example, communicate midway because you didn't have a line that was connected onto your communication gadget. Phones were fixed phones. They are either in offices, in hotels, or homes. And they never had a device to store any information. So they were used to communicate, and that's it. You couldn't store any message. You couldn't store anything. All you did was to dial, make a phone call, relay your information, and hang up. But the companies then innovated and said, in order for us to have communication straight, you had to have a directory where all subscribers at the time were written and printed in here. So you would have all the contacts of government agencies, private persons, offices, schools, everything, businesses in this directory. And in case you wanted to call any of the companies listed, you would go in. It was recorded alphabetically. You would go in and look for the particular company that you wanted. But before that, this was a very good resource kind of information. It had, in the beginning, it could give you a lot about, first of all, Uganda. So you say, sites to visit while in Uganda, tourism. Where would you go? They had the national parks and game parks. They have Queen Elizabeth and the like. So probably if Brim's Heritage was there at the time, it would also be listed in such kind of thing. So even in 1994, tourism was something very important for whoever received a book like this. So they give you about Uganda, the economic situation about Uganda, communication, how, this is interesting. The tokens, we had a 5 shilling token and a 100 shilling token. You would call PTA, rest of Africa, Europe and USA. So it gives you the kind of amount of money you'd use to call the different areas around. You would go in and they'd tell you the charges for rental of a post office box at Posta, and the charges for posting, if you wanted to buy a stamp, then an envelope for posting. All that information was put in here. Then we had what we call the codes. For example, every city had a code. If you wanted to call Kenya, for example, there were codes for Kenya. There were codes for Tanzania and codes for Uganda as well. If you wanted to call Jinja, Entebbe, and the like, it would give you the economic situation of Uganda, the political structure, government, the economic, agriculture, tourism, manufacturing. You'd read and get an example of what is happening within banking and insurance. Everything was all listed in this directory. So it is a very good resource. It gave information to people. You had this information in your house or in your office. So if someone asks you what opportunities are in Uganda for tourism, you go to these first pages and you are able to explain to them. But on top of that, then you would have companies listed. KCCA now, then it was called Kampala City Council, not an authority.
Yes.
So I think you know that. So this was listed, and I'm sure KCC must have spent a lot of money advertising on a page like this. Then we have local prime impacts. These ones are dealing in stationery, but they are all listed. So this had to pay a lot of money to be listed in the first pages. But the common person had their section. As usual, we have our section where you go to the classified ones at the back, and then you'd find the different companies, whatever. They are done alphabetically. So if you are looking for something in H, then you would go to H, look for where H is, and say Ham Traders, you're on Bombo Road, and that was their number. Then you come to your phone now to call. So help me hold this, and then read for me the number of Ham. There's a Ham company, Ham Traders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Ham Traders number?
Yes. Sorry. This is, you can hold it.
The Ham Traders number is 56.
Okay, 56. So what you do is, now you are here on this set and you want to make a call. The first thing you do is to lift it off the hook.
Okay.
You can either rest it down here. No, you don't rest. You first listen whether there is a dial tone. Very important. Because the dial tone meant that you're now connected to the system. It's receiving power. If you didn't have a dial tone, it meant that either the wire is cut somewhere or there is a disconnection somewhere. So the moment you hear a dial tone, then you start rotating this thing. So what is the number?
56.
56. So you put the finger in a 5 and crank it all the way, like this. 5, you release it.
Okay. 6.
6, you push your finger into a 6 and then rotate and release.
7.
7.
0.
0, you push your finger into the 0 all the way.
7.
7.
And 4.
And then the last one was a 4. Then you wait. It will, now this was automatic. Then the exchange would connect you to that number, and then you would hear a hello at the end of it, and then you start speaking. The moment your conversation was done, you hang up.
Okay.
This is how it was done in the days.
So this didn't require anything like airtime?
No, you would make calls and you would be billed at the end of the month because they don't know how many calls you're going to make. Each phone number was an account. So at the end of the month, they'll bring your printout, deliver it to your doorstep, and then you say, oh, I've made calls worth this much, and then you cash in and pay.
Yeah.
So
I find that dangerous for people that do accountability. Hello. Zakia speaking. Who am I speaking to? Okay.
And I was wondering if you could help me identify tourist sites that they could go.
Amazing. I would love to take them in the southwestern part of Uganda, where they will get into activities like gorilla tracking, get to connect with the people, especially understand their cultures. And we also have the deepest lake in that region. I bet they would love that. Yes. Wow, what an experience. It's actually exciting that I've had a chance to experience this. But I realize there's one with a padlock and then the other doesn't have a padlock. What could the history be about these two items?
Very interesting. I like the fact that you are that keen to notice that there is one of them. One of the sets had a padlock and the other doesn't have. So even early in the days, there were vices that were not good, and a padlock had to curtail those vices. Because you talked about the bill that wouldn't we receive bills that are exorbitant at the end of the month, because you didn't know you didn't know how much you spent on your calls until the bill came through. So one of the ways that the holders of these phones did is to lock this with a padlock. This padlock served as a password, the combination you make on your phone now, or the fingerprint or something like that.
Okay.
So this is what the padlock does. It's like that if you wanted to make a call, you wouldn't crank this phone call thing all the way. The padlock would stop it somewhere. Therefore, you couldn't make a call. However, you had the luxury to receive one, like you did. It was locked, but you happened to receive the call and locked. So in spaces like families and home and maybe offices where communication was limited to only receiving, this is what they used. There were different other types of locking phones. This is only one. Others constructed a box around it and only left the headset. It's like that when the phone comes in, you only receive, but you don't tamper with the mechanism for making calls. So that is how, in the old days, the vintage way of stopping people from accessing your communication tools.
Very interesting indeed. Today we just place in passwords, but back in the days you just find a padlock and just know that that is blocking you from picking, from making phone calls to friends. And then we have Nokia with us. So how was this different from this? Was this the version before this one, or this was the version before this?
Well, thank you very much. Now, as technology evolved, we went into mobile communication.
Okay.
Where instead of having wires lined up all the way from post office to your home, from post office to your office or something like that, technology moved into digital. So we had digital systems. Instead of wires, we would use this kind of mobile sets. Now, I hope you are aware that in Uganda, you must be celebrating about 30 years or thereabout of communication, of mobile communication. It was, I think, in 1994 when the first mobile communication was made out of Uganda by the then Vice President Wandera Kazuwe Speciosa. She made the first ever mobile communication out of Uganda. Yes, when MTN launched. No, when Airtel, sorry, I beg your pardon. It was Airtel then, but it was Celltel then, but now it is Airtel.
Yes.
So at the time, especially these Ericssons were the first bigger headsets that were brought in Uganda, the likes of that Nokia and this the 1018. This, which you see here, at the time was very expensive. It cost about 3 million shillings at the time when they launched. Today you might look at it as scrap, but people who held such phones then were very rich guys. So you didn't have to go through the hullabaloo of carrying a phone book and what, because this phone gadget was enabled with a phone book, a digital phone book, so that you could now enter all your contacts into this phone and you are able to move, even make calls outside the premises where these phones were. So you would make calls along the route, in the middle of the market and such kind of things. Yet in the olden days, these sets were positioned in particular places where people would walk to and make calls. But now, this was kind of a good innovation where you could carry your phone with you and move places with your mobile gadget.
Did these still operate with the 6-digit number?
So at the time when we came, because of the advancement in technology, the 6 numbers were dropped. And then we went, I think, into 8 or 9 digits. Then I think that was generation 1 at the time. Now we are doing 5G, but this was, I think, either 0 or generation 1. So as generations of technology evolved, even the numbers increased. You remember there was a time when they put a 2 in the middle of the 7, something like that. So that was to allow for the digitization of the phone, so that people can receive and make good phone calls over wireless gadgets. Yes.
Wow, the conversation is still getting even more interesting. I would advise you to stick around and still learn more that the vintage world has to offer.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
In the year 2025, we are using PIN code numbers, we are using face IDs, we are using fingerprint identifications on our phones. Yet in the 80s or maybe early 90s, a padlock was used to safeguard a phone. Oh, how far we have moved. And in any case, it's today years old that I've learned how to use that particular type of phone. I've only seen it in the movies, never experienced it. But in case, as technology always bounces back, in case it ever comes back, thank you, Zakia and Emmanuel, for teaching us. That brief lesson has been one huge one for me. But good morning, Uganda. Welcome back from GMU Tourism Express. It's time for GMU Business. My name is Julie Nantaba Mosisi, and we are starting off with a groundbreaking women's business training and a GROW project in Machindi Sabagabo that took place to spark innovation and unity. Now, from transforming cultural materials into fashion to bridging political divides, local leaders and participants are embracing transparency and collaboration. And this marks the vibrant launch of an empowering training initiative for women designed to cultivate entrepreneurial skills under the GROW project. Now, elegantly fashioned from traditional bark cloth once reserved for burials, the garment is a symbol of cultural reinvention unveiled by visionary women to ignite innovation. Leaders in Machindi Sabagabo say that the initiative is a transparent and inclusive collaboration to cultivate meaningful progress. Now, moving on to matters. Bubu, the Minister of Trade for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, David Bahati, has applauded Ugandans and Ugandan manufacturers for pushing further the agenda of Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. He says with the availability of many locally owned manufacturing industries, Uganda is able to reduce the dependence on imported goods. He said this while he launched locally manufactured products in Entebbe. Uganda thrives in over 9,000 manufacturing industries, which have been growing from 80 in the year 1986. Minister of State for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, David Bahati, said that these growing numbers of industries show steady progress towards Uganda embracing Bubu and even Baba, Buy Africa, Build Africa. The minister further applauded locally owned manufacturing industries like the Movit Company Limited, who have served Ugandans and part of the African continent over the years. Proprietors of the locally owned Movit Company attribute their products launch to the constant desire to satisfy their products and the local market and increase Uganda's trade margin to the outside world. It's been a year and 3 months since Uganda was removed from the African Growth and Opportunity Act on 1st January 2024, thereby rendering Uganda's products less competitive in the US market. But according to Minister Bahati, it's time and high time Uganda embraced the exportation of more of its products to other countries. Well, now, looking at fisheries preservation, the fishing community have urged government to expedite the review of the Fisheries and Aquatic Act of 2023 to improve on the sector performance. While dialoguing on the alternative regulations in the Act, fish exporters and processors identified the penalty of 10 million for convicted as being unfair and just intends to cripple the industry. Fish exporters, processors and fishermen seek the government to be involved while implementing implementing the Act of the Fisheries and Aquatic Act 2023 for significant results. And these accuse implementers for working in silos while isolating key stakeholders. Now, they want the market and the government to manage and determine the market prices of the sector to allow stable outflow of exportable fish. Key stakeholders in the fishing industry have commended the significance of the Fisheries Protection Unit based on the fish stock increase, and the cost of acceptable fishing gears still poses a challenge to the fishing community and ask the government for subsidization. The deployment of the Fisheries Protection Unit on the Ugandan waters resulted from the public outcry of the depleted fish stocks owing to poor methods of fishing and Unity, which is lately registering total compliance. Now, time to look at what the forex rates look like as of 29th April 2025. And the US dollar was opening and buying at 3,661.68, selling at 3,671.68 by midday. It was at 3,661.95, having increased value there, and selling at 3,671.95. It closed in at 3,661.00 with a dropped value and selling at 3,671.00. The British pound was buying at 4,905.74 and selling at 4,919.14. The euro was buying at 4,166.22 and selling at 4,177.60. And the Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.32 and selling at 28.40. The Tanzanian shilling maintained buying at 1.36 and selling at the same, and the South African rand was buying at 197.36 and selling at 197.90. Well, that's it from GMU Business today. Good Morning Uganda does continue. Stay tuned.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, you can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit, and I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
In all these years, we emphasize two words: wealth and jobs, and we try to waken our people up to show them where wealth and jobs come from.
The Parish Development Model, PDM, is a bold initiative that is reshaping Uganda's rural economy. By allocating 100 million shillings to each parish annually, PDM empowers households by unlocking opportunities for wealth creation.
This program will be maintained. Each year we send 100 million for the parish. If you get the 1 million, you can buy some goats, you can buy some pigs, you can buy even young cows.
Farmers are transitioning from subsistence farming to commercial agriculture, laying the groundwork for wealth creation and improved livelihoods.
This project started 11 years ago after an inspiration from His Excellency. And that time I was working as a taxi driver. I was doing that Massa business in Soroti, and he was talking about how to improve household income.
With the PDM, you bring back the money after 24 months, but in the third year, you would get another 100 million paid back by those who got first.
The President's message is a mindset changer. Becoming rich does not mean you should have a lot of land, you should have a lot of education, you just need a vision and implement and start from where you are.
So therefore, this PDM is to get all of you out of poverty. That's why we said 100 million per parish per year.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance.
Welcome to UBC Today. Today we will be discussing the role of cooperatives in job creation and employment, and I will be speaking to Honorable Byakatonda, Honorable Byakatonda Abdul, who is the workers' representative, and also CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance Limited. And my name is Olive Monica Najuma. And getting into this conversation is a precursor for the events that will be taking place tomorrow, which is International Labour Day, a day when we get to commemorate workers across the world and also put so much focus on the workers within Uganda. So our topic of discussion is the role of cooperatives in job creation and employment. So join us, join the conversation. Any questions that you may have, the number will be displayed on your screen. It is 0709 602 592. So join us, let's get into this and answer some of the questions that you may have. First of all, good morning and welcome, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam Najuma and Comrade Asimwe, the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Our viewers, I want to welcome you to UBC. And I think I'm not welcoming you because I'm not the host, but maybe to attest to your preference for UBC and the prominent programs that have transformed society. Like she mentioned, tomorrow is a very big day. We are commemorating International Labour Day. Ours, of course, is normally advocacy for good working conditions, labor laws, and whatever. But I think it's no longer advocacy, but we normally do dialogue.
Yes.
And ensure that at least under the tripartite arrangement, we are looking at the government, employer, and employees. So my appeal is normally that in the world of work, we should ensure that we have collective bargaining. And ensure that at least we recognize workers. And when we do that, I think we are going to have industrial harmony, increase the productivity. That's what most of the economies have actually envisaged, and they are doing that. When you look at the Asian tigers, they are doing quite well. And I think so far so good. We on course, we are trying to ensure that we handle a few disparities that are available and ensure that at least we are good to go. What is important now is to ensure that we do competence profiling, ensure that the performance appraisals are handled, and ensure that at least we now handle aspects of inflation. Then I think we are good to gather the workforce in the country.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And that is Honorable Biakatonda, who is the workers' representative. So if you're just joining us, we are just getting started. I'm sure this conversation is going to be enlightening, educative, and also encouraging. Now, the other gentleman, like I mentioned, the other gentleman is CPA Ivan Asimwe. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Madam Najuma. And I'm really very happy to be here. And I want to appreciate UBC for this opportunity. All our viewers, good morning. And I want to thank you because they are always there. In fact, Ugandan is telling me every Wednesday now, every Wednesday 8 to 9, they are watching because they are following. They really love cooperatives. And like Honorable Biakatonda has mentioned, tomorrow we have a very big day where we will be celebrating the International Labour Day. And I want to really wish all Ugandans and all people globally a very happy day and even celebrations. But this one should now be a lesson to us as Ugandans, that how do we position the cooperatives to create jobs and employment in the country in order to contribute to employment globally. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I will start with you, Honorable. One of the biggest hurdles of job seekers in Uganda is the lack of skills training. So do you think cooperatives can play a larger role in providing vocational training and skills development for workers? And if so, how?
Thank you very much, Monica. I think cooperatives are a vehicle for prosperity. And of course, based on the democratic principle of governance, cooperatives are very key. You see, we are trying to say cooperatives will pull resources together and ensure that at least they bring on board all the members. And of course, they are self-sustaining and autonomous bodies. So what cooperatives can do is that, one, they are very key. in ensuring that at least they provide skills. For example, we're not talking of NDP4. And NDP4, the president has by his vision, is talking of actually growing our economy tenfold from $50 billion to $500 billion. All these are now envisaging issues like agro-processing, industrialization. We are talking about issues of tourism. We are talking about ICT, and we are talking about all these 4 semantic areas are very key. So how do we finish? Well, you know, he came up with the vision of PDM. PDM per se, as you know, by the time PDM came, we had less than about 9,000 cooperatives, so call them circles. But now as we talk, we are in the thousands. I think we are
over 30,000.
Over 30,000. Actually, by now, I think if they take a statistics, about 50. That means now the economy, the engagement of cooperatives is very important. For example, we are enhancing production. And now the aspect of agro-processing should actually come on board. So by doing this, it means we are looking at a simple narrative where we talk of SQMT, standardization, quality assurance, measurement, and testing, so that our products can now hit the market. And I think what we can achieve in this through the skilling, it means now we are going to provide skills across the production chain, value chain. So cooperatives are a very big vehicle, not only in the production, but even when we talk of transportation. In other economies, I think that started, you find that when we talk of transportation, it's cooperatives. So we want to look at an opportunity where across the production value chain, for example, we are talking of about 19 enterprises. We talk about fisheries, fishing, we fish, we talk about avocado, we talk about a number of things. And then at the end of the day, we need now, cooperatives should actually mobilize their members, so that at least now they engage in production using the relevant skills.
Yes.
And I want to thank Uganda Cooperative Alliance because they have actually traversed the country and managed to provide trainings. So far so good, it's doing well. And I think I must say, they say the sky is the limit, but I think it's more than the sky.
There is something beyond the sky.
There's something beyond the sky.
Yes.
I want to thank Asimo, not because he's here, but I have had an opportunity to attend most of the meetings in the countryside, where I've really seen it fits in the vision of His Excellency the President. You see, when the programs are starting, I want to implore upon Ugandans. We must actually build synergies and come together as a country. That's what we call patriotism, according to me. Because if you don't do that, then it means we cannot actually move. And His Excellency now, his call is that we should stop exporting raw materials. I think he even said the other day that over is dead body. This is very important. Not because, actually I'm independent, not because I'm NRM leaning, but I think this is objectively the right decision that is taking. And when we do that, I think it will be important. So cooperatives are, in terms of skilling, a very important vehicle. Cooperatives in terms of production, a very important vehicle. And then of course now, we are now talking of market access. Market access is very important because now under PDM, people are now producing. So we need now to see if they have taken on the 3 enterprises, at least maybe they are talking about coffee. Now we can now engage as entities with, of course, the skilling. We want them to bring on issues of governance, financial literacy. These are very core skills. Because we normally tell them, why do you form a cooperative and doesn't actually celebrate his first birthday? And yesterday I was in Hoima. I came from Hoima this morning. It is, I'm on PAC, local government, Public Accounts Committee, and we are meeting entities. So we see that this is now, we need to be proactive and ensure that at least PDM is not a ratio. Because some people Mr. Simi will agree with me, some of them are saying it was a handshake. It's not a handshake, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans.
Yes.
This is money that should actually help you to grow. Yeah? We have talked about the fortunes in the Bible, where 3 people were given money. Another one said, my master, I dug a hole and kept it there. Another one said, my master, I've actually multiplied it. Then another one was saying, I've also tried it, but actually it's later. Then they said, yeah, the best. I think this under that spiritual paradigm, I think we should actually urge Ugandans to move and ensure that we do the best. Because we find that literally the problem has been high interest rates have been bogging down, and of course coupled with collateral. So if people can really agree and really get a revelation and ensure that at least they move in that strategic direction, Uganda is good to go. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. Now, speaking about PDM, I love that you have brought it up because yesterday I was talking to someone from the Workers' Union, and he also did express the same sentiments that many people think that the parish development model funds are a token of appreciation. Some of them believe it's a token of appreciation for supporting the government in one way or another. But let's talk about the fact that maybe some people don't understand that this money needs to be paid back. Is this money supposed to be paid back?
Yes, this is, thank you, Monica. This is a revolving fund and should actually be paid, and then it grows because we are talking of 100 million per parish every financial year. That means within 5 years, the parish should have 500 million. And basically, this small interest is basically for administrative handling, but the money should remain within the community and actually grow. So this is very important. When we change our people's mindsets, it will help. Because, of course, mindset is very key. Capacity building is powerful, but action is everything. If people build the capacities of the people and they take action, that will actually help. You see, now, I normally make comparisons. Somebody is a banker manager, and you find a primary teacher. But in terms of salaries take home, you find that a primary teacher who has a positive mindset will actually grow using the small income they have. So likewise in the PDM, you find that this small pancake seller in the formal sector, who is actually serious with a positive mindset, will actually grow and even educate children. So this PDM money is really a very good gesture. And I think I want to thank the President for this vision. This should actually, when well utilized, can help grow. And we are looking at now growth because if, for example, SAC has 30 members, and most of them are getting, then at the end of the day, with every financial year, they are getting a few. At the end of the day, it can actually grow. Of course, they are mobilizing their savings as well, and then this is just an external input which is coming into the membership. So I think what is important now, if one is producing, another one should actually do marketing. Then at the end of the day, we should be able to continue. And of course, the guidelines are very clear. They will continue engaging and recruiting more members. At the end of the day, you find that if they are making some profits out of the enterprise they have selected, then at the end of the day, they should be able to look at maybe a component on transport. They should be able to look at a component on production. That's what we talk about agro-processing. Why can't you, for example, look at maybe a simple hatchery of 2 million shillings and you start actually hatching eggs? Then your members are now buying from you. Then at the end of the day, we should now consider market access. So this PDM is very important, and I think people should start playing with it. Imagine that's a handshake. But even when it's a handshake, must you really abuse it?
You could actually put it to good use and enrich yourself.
Yes, Monica, I've ever seen people who have gone for a lottery. Somebody maybe has gone for a lottery and he has picked maybe 200 million. It doesn't mean you should actually put it to waste. I've seen that mindset problem where, for example, certain roads have been constructed and people have been compensated. You find a beneficiary X who picks his 60 million and puts on a border, goes drinking, at the end of the day, he has lost the money. And he has no place to stay. He has no place to stay. So it is the same scenario refers to PDM. You know, what there's a saying that opportunity is a very funny thing. It is very ugly. It puts on an overall. And when you see it, you'll think it's a shamba boy. By the time you realize it was opportunity, when it's already gone. It's already late. And they say it knocks once. Yes, this PDM is a very good opportunity because now you are trying to put an impression that you are not trustworthy. And yet more opportunities are coming. You know, I've been around for some time. In the early 90s, we had what we called the Tandikwa. And I was a member of the Focal Point Committee. Actually, we started with what we call the Rural Farmers Scheme under the CNRM government. It was still a vision of the president. He used to give people agricultural input. For example, give you a plow, give you oxen. But at the end of the day, people could even sell them on the way as they were going home. So, but if those people who are persisted, I think, are billionaires now. Then it became what we call the Ntandikwa. Ntandikwa was the same thing, and I think for it was actually based at the county level. You could have a steering committee, give money to people. People actually wasted the money. So I think, likewise now you look at Amioga, now this PDM, and very many opportunities. If Ugandans had a positive mindset, by now I think it would be elsewhere. I can give you a scenario of the Asian Tigers. Asian Tigers in 1987, there was what we call the economic depression. They had fallen down. Things were not working out. But I think what the difference is that for them, what they did, they took on very key enterprises. Some of them formed the women circles like that we are doing now. And I think by 1962, but 1987 now, I think they are donors.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. Mr. Asimwe, coming back to you, and a follow-up question on the skills training that the Honorable did deliberate on. Now, when we look at Uganda Cooperative Alliance, you've been very instrumental in supporting cooperative initiatives. What programs or strategies is UCA currently implementing to help cooperatives create sustainable jobs, especially for the youth and women?
Oh, thank you so much, moderator. And you know, before I even come to your question, I want to begin. You mentioned something very important. Uganda exporting products in raw form. Are we aware that we are donating jobs to outsiders? Take an example, you export coffee in raw form. It goes to Europe. How many jobs have you created the other side? And how many jobs have you denied Ugandans? So this is why we are here, in ensuring that we really educate the people that actually it is us to create jobs for ourselves, not expecting jobs to come from heaven.
Yes.
God did his part and finished. It's upon me and you to make sure that we create jobs here. And the cooperatives do it better. Take an example. If you had a cooperative, for example, which completes the value chain from production up to marketing. An example is Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union in Shema. If you went there during the harvesting season, you can't imagine, the moderator, how many people are employed there. There is a time when I went to the factory and I found over 500 people seated handling the value chain. There is sorting, there is grading, there is packing, there is transportation. A lot of jobs are created. So this is what we are looking at. Now, if we are really going into the garden, from the garden, you aggregate, you add value, and you market a finished product, you create a lot of jobs in this country. And this is what we are saying. Look at circles, for example. See how many people are employed in circles today. Personally, I started as a cashier of a circle in 2003, and here I am still in employment because of cooperatives. So how many people are employed? So if cooperatives were not there, actually, we would be seeing so many people unemployed. He has mentioned about PDM. PDM is a very good and fantastic program for this country. However, people still think otherwise. But it is upon me and you to really educate the people. And now this comes to the role of UCA.
Yes.
What are we doing? Now, like he has mentioned, PDM is not free money. It's a revolving fund. Get the money, Monica get the money, use it, pay back. Ivan, you get it, use it, pay back. Honorable Byakatonda, and it continues as a cycle. Within 5 years, at least everyone has gotten money within the parish for economic purposes. This is what we are looking at. So it's not free money. However, we need, me and you, we need now to sensitize the public. And this is why UBC has contributed greatly to this. You know, I wish other televisions were doing what UBC is doing. Because you find a whole hour wasted just on music. And which music? You can't imagine. Why don't we use...
Entertainment is good for the soul.
I tell you, entertainment is good, but you must have programs that are geared towards developing your country. So you see, when we are here, the whole world is watching. And they are listening. They are learning. You know, people need to learn. Like he has mentioned, some people are not yet aware that there is money going to the parishes and they don't know how to access this money. People are not aware that cooperatives are there to help them. Some of them are still asking, how do I join a cooperative? Do I qualify to be a member of a cooperative? Such things. So what we are doing as UCA, number one, is community awareness and sensitization. Make sure the community is aware. Are we aware that globally cooperatives employ more than 10% of the population? And currently we have 8.2 billion people globally. So if you are talking about 10%, that means over 8 million people globally are employed in cooperatives. If you came to Europe alone has created 4.7 million jobs to their people. And who is donating these jobs? We are the ones. Because now if we export our products in raw form, you export cotton, it goes the other side, you have created jobs in Europe. And you have denied Africans jobs. So this is why we need cooperatives. I will give an example, just like Friesland Campina, which is in Netherlands. It is employing thousands of people. It is a dairy cooperative. Talk about Rabobank Foundation, which is a cooperative, is employing thousands of people. So these are jobs created by cooperatives. You come to our neighbors here in Kenya. Kenya alone is employing over 500 people in cooperatives. Are you seeing? Now, a study done in Uganda here by Ministry of Trade last year, accordingly, cooperatives employ around 16% of Ugandans. But still, we want to reach 50% because most of the people are unemployed. But why are we unemployed? We have not yet really gotten the idea of cooperatives. Take an example of the young engineers. I'm happy the Honorable Byakatonda, who is in charge of workers, is here. And we are working together to support all workers across the country to form and manage cooperatives. Very soon we shall invite you, Monica, when we are training them here in Kampala. We want to train all of them. Why? We need to contribute towards the socio-economic transformation of the country using the cooperative model. So UCA does community awareness and mobilization. Number two, we do skilling. We skill people, like he has mentioned. The other week I was in Acholi sub-region, meeting the cooperative unions and primary societies. Monica, these are people with a lot of resources. They have a lot of land. You find a union with over 7,000 acres of land. A lot of land. But the land is just idle. They have cotton ginaries. They have rice, maize mills. They have too much. But the assets are not utilized. So what do we do? Skill the leadership, skill the management staff to be able to take advantage of the opportunities and then be able to move forward. Skilling the youth and women is also very critical because Uganda has majority of the people here are the young people. So how do you skill them? Give them the knowledge for them to take advantage of the available resources. There is usually a problem here when you talk about agriculture, because Uganda is an agro-based economy. When you talk about agriculture, Monica, today, if I told you, can we join agriculture? What comes into your mind is going to the garden. You say, me, I'm educated, I can't. So people still think that agriculture is about holding a hoe. No, agriculture is beyond that. We are talking about agribusiness. From farming, you go to aggregation, you go to value addition, you go to marketing, the entire value chain. How do we create jobs along the whole chain is very critical. And how do we bring the youth along the value chain? These young people can do very well at aggregation level. Like I've mentioned, Ankole coffee, during harvesting season, they are transporting, they are sorting, they are packing, so many. They can do a lot on value addition because they are still young and energetic. They can run machines. They can do a lot on marketing. We have a lot of products, but they are not marketed well. So how do we make sure that you create the market? So this is skilling for the young people. Then also, we ensure that we support and strengthen cooperative governance, because governance and management is very critical. So how do we ensure that we strengthen governance and management? So UCA does this. The other issue that we handle is arbitration. Because in the cooperatives, usually there are conflicts because people are many. So how do we do it? We do it in line with the law, because the law, section 142, empowers the board of UCA to carry out arbitration in the case of disputes in the cooperatives. So we do a lot. Then we support also business and strategic planning. It's very critical. Yes, we have people, but they need to be skilled in strategic and business planning. How do you do business? We do not want a situation where you are into something, but you don't know what to do. So we do the skilling to make sure that they have better skills and knowledge in strategic and business planning. So this is what UCA does, because UCA as an umbrella body, we look at all types and forms of cooperatives. And currently, our viewers, in Uganda, we have over 46,000 registered cooperative societies, and the majority of these are circles. So it is a lot that we do. We go to energy cooperatives, we go to housing cooperatives, we have transport cooperatives, agricultural production and marketing, PDM, Emyoga, and I really want to add my voice to Honorable Yakatonda in appreciating the president and the government, because government has really given us support as UCA in ensuring that Ugandans come together, work together. Our viewers, when you talk about cooperatives, cooperatives began with the creation story, the book of Genesis. When God created man and realized that man was alone, he was lonely, he was restless, and he said no, he needed a companion. That is the first theory of cooperatives. Man and woman cooperate and build this world. So we are doing God's work in ensuring that this country and this world becomes a better place for us.
Well, thank you so much. Join the conversation on the role of cooperatives in job creation and employment. I am speaking to Honorable Byakatonda, who is the workers' representative, but also I'm speaking to Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance Limited. We are delving deeper into some of the conversations that will be shared even tomorrow, as tomorrow is International Labour Day, and Uganda will be joining the rest of the world to commemorate the day and the efforts that have been put in place to enrich workers across the world, and most importantly, workers within Uganda. Now, you can join our conversation. The number is on your screen. It is 0709-602-592. If you have questions for the Honorable, who has expertise dealing with workers' issues, please send them through. But if you have questions on cooperatives, on SACCOs, to Mr. Ivan Asimwe, also send those through. Now, Honorable, coming back to you, workers often face challenges like job insecurity and low wages. The question about minimum wage has been asked and asked several times. How do you see cooperatives addressing these issues, and can you share any specific examples where cooperatives have improved working conditions for Ugandan workers?
Thank you very much, Monica, and our viewers. Cooperatives are actually a cornerstone for development of any economy. And I want to mention that we have had a number of challenges, but I think we are now getting on board. And I think with this invention of the PDM, we are seeing prospects. Recently, of course, the number of challenges, for example, the wars and the like. Recently, the government actually gave 160 billion to compensate cooperatives. But I think because of lack of capacity building and attitudes, so most of that money was not actually properly utilized. And of course now, that's why you see that the role of UCA is very important. And I want to urge us as government and a number of institutions to embrace cooperatives. I wish UCA would have capacity to reach everywhere. But I think the capacity is developed over time. So far, so good. I think I had a challenge to explain what is UCA. Some people were saying it is a private company. They didn't know it was established by an act of parliament way back in 1961. And I think we shall look at the aspects where we needed to amend in that law, so that at least they become trendy and play center stage in this. I want to thank the Minister of Trade, because even I'm a member of the Committee on Trade. I did not actually know very much until recently when we came together and interfaced with UCA, and I think so far so good. So what I want to mention is that cooperatives are very vital. For example, they are going to put resources together. They are going, and the people have started. In terms of market access, it's very important, enhance productivity. And of course now, why it is important, you find that now, for example, in terms of interests, they are helping people, their members. In terms of collateral, because these are people who know, within their governance, they now know their members. They can actually give them money without collateral. So this has actually stimulated the growth, and we feel it will be actually to do more. In my case, I can make reference. When I came in 2021, I gave virtually all the unions money to register cooperatives. Some of them did that, and I'm still continuing to do so. That's why when you see the General Secretary here, the Chief Accounting Officer, Mr. Simwe, out of his immediate resources, when he says he's going to volunteer and actually come up with a training under that cooperation, it's very important. This will help us, because under ILO, globally, cooperatives are envisaged under recommendation 193. And I want to encourage even workers at UBC, you should have your own cooperative. You see, when you look at institutions like Uzalendo, I think they came together and they pulled the resources. When you look at institutions like Walimu, and here I want to thank His Excellency the President. He gave them, he pledged 25 billion, and he has so far given, I think, over 20. They are remaining with a little, which is also being earmarked to be given. Then recently he also gave some city circles, at least 5 billion, but we are even appealing that maybe across all sectors. So even UBC.
So this money the president, sorry to cut you short,
Yes.
this money the president is giving to these circles, is it to act as, there is a name for it in Bank of Uganda?
Revolving fund.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the revolving fund.
All right.
To help actually workers in certain sectors grow. Because you see, salary, they will tell you an MP gets a lot of money, but where is it? Salary is not enough. So you need to diversify. I want to look at Monica. During her free time, she's rearing her chicken. She's looking at maybe a small enterprise, maybe of pancakes or cakes. She's maybe having an events management where she's actually maybe hiring out tents. So such that at least by the time you get this small thing called salary, you have other subsidiaries that are actually coming on board. So that's what we are envisaging. And I want to, this Labor Day, part of the takeaways is as workers, let's actually organize ourselves in the cooperatives. Let's organize ourselves in circles, and let's select enterprises. And you see, we normally fight in the churches and mosques that want to go to heaven. But how do you think you will go to heaven when they have given you this PDM manna and they have eaten it with impunity?
The talents, the parable of the talents.
I think, you know, we fight, but other things will take us, will fail us to go to heaven. So I want to urge Ugandans, let's change our mindset. Let's work together. Because now, Monica, what we must now list the viewers, we are now headed, there are trends, global trends. We are now headed for what we call artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence means now, you find like in Uganda, people are doing work without contracts. They are agents of Amazon, agents of Google in the country. Actually, these are part of the casual things that we are doing. But now, what will survive, people will survive are those people with relevant skills. People will survive are those people who have actually innovations. For example, they're innovating as a cooperative. For example, they are saying IA is destined to bring increased productivity through data manipulation and the like. But now, you'll find that it is also coupled with loss of jobs. For example, in South Korea, alongside these elderly homes, it is actually you find that they are using most artificial intelligence where robots are actually taking center stage and a number of things. But what Ugandans must know, these things don't have empathy. And it is based on this that I'm trying to introduce a private members bill, Mr. Simwe, to ensure that at least we mitigate. Because without a legal framework, we are likely to have a lot of challenges, and loss of jobs is one of the eminent issues. But of course, when you know, at the neighborhood economy here, you find out how taxi drivers are using logarithms. And you had one time the drivers were complaining. So these are trends that we need to moderate. But of course, the key way is through innovation. Innovation can only come when we join cooperatives, which are Lego vehicles, and to help us really make a lot of progress. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Byakatonda. I'm speaking to Honorable Byakatonda and CPA Ivan Asimwe. And today, Honorable Byakatonda is the workers' representative in Parliament. Now, today we are delving into a conversation on the role of cooperatives in job creation and employment. This is on the heels, actually a precursor to the events that are happening tomorrow, a day that recognizes workers in Uganda and across the world. That is International Labour Day. And I love where the Honorable started from when we were beginning this conversation. He did say that now we are not doing advocacy, but rather we are having dialogue. For example, we have the question of minimum wage for workers. And this question has been asked several times. When we are speaking to the union heads, you ask this question. When we're anything to do with workers, this is a question that comes onto the table. And there is argument now that minimum wage should be set sector by sector, that there should be a minimum wage for, let's say, for us in the media, and then maybe those in manufacturing, in industries, and then house helps, and to mention but a few. And I'm bringing that question to the Honorable.
Yeah.
The question of minimum wage.
Thank you, Monica.
Yes.
I think there is a commitment, because one time a bill in the tennis parliament had been floated, but I think
it was rejected.
It was not. I don't want to say it was rejected, but I think there was a misinterpretation.
Okay.
Where one of the key stakeholders imagined that when the minimum wage comes in place, it will scare investors. I want to say that in all economies, we've been told these economies in Africa and this African sub-region, it is working well. And of course, like we said, one time, Monica, you might bear with me witness, one time during the NSSF amendment, where we said the workers had challenges in accessing owing to COVID-19. Some people could even have their house, but they would say, unless you clock 60 years, you cannot actually access your money. We went into dialogue with the government, and His Excellency the President allowed. But I must say, this is now one of the key projects that the government has had, the key laws that the government has had, because now you find that it has even grown. Because what we did, we said there is even voluntary saving, where somebody does not necessarily have to be in an office, or Monica can be saving, the employer is putting the 10%, they are putting the 5%, then you can also say, voluntary, I'm also adding my money there. At the end of the day, then they invest this money, then an interest is also given. So this, in the region now, this is one of the prominent projects that we have had. And people can even now access midterm access. At least 20% who have worked for 10 years and 45 years. People with disabilities who have clocked 40 years can actually access up to 50%. So this has actually even stimulated the growth. And we feel we might even reach 15 million within a period of 5 years, savers in the country.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying that because we have achieved this success on midterm access of NSSF
through dialogue,
yes, then because right now the minimum wage is at 6,000. That is an amount that was set so many years ago.
About 1963, 61.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Maybe if you may, Honorable, why do we take so long to have reforms? Because if it was an act of 1960 something and we're in 2025, what are usually the hurdles that exist before we can have reforms, important reforms like minimum wage?
What is important is to have teamwork, but political will is the key.
Okay.
But like I said, we are going to make exploits and ensure that we continue with dialogue. It's important, it's long overdue. And I think we have seen the absence of minimum wage is also promoting casualization. And when we get the opportunity, I think we should be able to focus on this and ensure that at least dialogue results into something good. It's ours. That thing is ours as a government, and I think we need to push it and ensure that at least it comes out on board. So there are positive trends. Some employers are generally trying to give. If they are giving maybe like a minimum of 300,000 a month or 200, then we can say let's strike a consensus and say maybe the minimum wage is 200,000, 250. And it's very important because you know it builds the understanding where I are saying, for example, even your housekeeper at home should actually save. Because we are saying even one person is regarded as an employment sector and should actually is entitled to savings. But what are you giving them? Some
because
maids,
factory workers, maids, you've gone far.
Yes.
Factory workers earn at least 3,000 shillings a day.
Yes.
30 days, that is 90,000. What can someone do with 90,000?
And subsistence per day is about 10,000. So I think that is enslavement, which we are trying to...
Modern day enslavement.
Modern day enslavement. It's not even modern, it's actually very traditional. But of course, we shall get there. I think we need to step up on our vigilance and so that we promote dialogue in this area. You know, for me, I normally believe God has planned his favorite thing, and God's timing is the best. So in case of an opportunity, we are going to focus on this and ensure that it comes to being. All is not lost.
Okay,
yes.
I have some views. The first one is from Wakabi Charles, who says, Wakabi Charles from Kamuli, Busoga, watching. But why is it that government programs, the new ones, take over the older ones, like let me paraphrase, like the government that is not talking about Emyoga Sako, okay, he's saying the two gentlemen are not talking about Emyoga Sako, yet we are here. We need your support. So get away from balancing the boat. Thanks. I think his contention is how come right now everything we hear is parish development model? Yes. And I think the bigger question here is, does it mean that the other initiatives are now dead and gone, or they are still in existence? Why aren't they being used to help people? This should go to you, Honorable.
Thank you very much. I think you see, there's what we call opportunity cost. Resources are normally the challenge.
Yes.
At times you try to fix this problem, then you have the roads, you have medicine, you have what else and the like. So PDM, I think what was envisaged was to ensure that at least it takes the wider scope of all the beneficiaries, all the segments of society. We are talking about women, we are talking about youth, we are talking about disabilities, we are talking about elderly, we are talking about men. Actually, those are the general ones. For example, she has alluded the percentages. But the other programs are also coming. What is important is that when resources are available, then you can embark on all of them. For example, Emyoga, some beneficiaries I think performed well. Others didn't perform well. We had this livelihood program. I think that one, due to lack of mindset change and capacity building, it has a number of challenges because we find that some of the districts recovery rates are even below 2%. Then UEP, at least women tried to recover some low percentages. But of course, what government envisaged was that if we scatter, we may not actually have a strategic direction in terms of the PDM. The PDM basically is trying to ensure that at least we enhance household incomes right from the household.
Okay.
When you touch the household, that means all enterprises can actually prosper. Because this is the basic unit of production. And the countries that have actually developed have targeted the family.
Yes.
Finland, they don't even look at only the family, but even issues of like the most domestic violence. I think these should be factored in. Because if, for example, a woman who are beneficiaries of 30% of PDM are getting money, but in their household there's domestic violence, then those people will actually migrate. At the end of the day, it is likely to fail the PDM. So all these are facets that should be incorporated into the PDM. So for Wakabi, let him understand that, one, of course, some people question, why is PDM looking at the lowest people? Those are the certain 9 threshold that we are talking about. It's not actually looking at that. For example, for me as an individual, when I realized PDM is coming, I started in my nurseries, I built capacity. So that if the PDM beneficiary is looking for coffee, let him come and visit me. Likewise, if the PDM beneficiary is looking at poultry, put vaccines, get a fridge and put vaccines so that actually come and vaccinate their chicken. If the PDM beneficiary is looking for feeds, you should be able to produce feeds.
So you're contributing to the value chain.
The value
you're
chain.
all doing the same
and let me
thing,
tell
but
you,
in
Monica,
different
you'll be even the biggest beneficiary. Because how many beneficiaries in a parish? And it may not even be only a parish, but when you set up, for example, a fish hatchery, they will come and buy fingerlings from you. But of course, there is a tendency of people folding their hands. For us, we are not actually benefited. We are not doing this. No, it is a stimulant, and which is actually providing market. So that means when you start now producing feeds, it means now the maize prices will go up, and all these other ingredients. And then at the end of the day, you will be stepping up employability.
So do you think, Honorable, that because what I hear about the parish development model does really show that this is a really great initiative to enrich Ugandans from the grassroots. But do you think that probably we still need more and more awareness when it comes to this? Because I see the things, the initiatives that you're mentioning where people could actually invest. Let's say, for instance, in agriculture, and we are all not rearing chicken. There is someone selling the vaccines, there is someone selling the feeds, there is someone rearing the chicken, and at the end of the day, this is an entire value chain.
Yes.
But I have seen some people getting that 1 million and investing it in a retail shop where you look at the shelves in the shop almost empty, and I think they're depending on this to feed the family, to also run the business, and at the end of the day they can't afford to pay back the loan.
Maybe Monica, before Honorable comes in, just to answer Wakabi's question, if you are to look, it's not that we are talking about the new models.
Yes.
But when you look at the parish development model, it's very comprehensive and integrates all the other government programs together, and you come up with a model. Take an example of Pillar 1, which is about production, value addition, aggregation, and marketing. Now compare with the other government programs that have taken place. For example, CAIP, Community Agriculture Infrastructure Improvement Program. Talk about Agricultural Cluster Development Project. Talk about NADS. Talk about NUSAF. All of those projects are now integrated under that Pillar 1. You get me? Now you go to, let's say, Pillar 3, which is about financial inclusion. We are looking at the other programs, the previous programs, PROFIRA, the Project for Financial Inclusion in Rural Areas. We are looking at the Rural Financial Scheme in Uganda and other programs that we are looking at supporting financial inclusion. They are all consolidated under that pillar of financial inclusion. So the beauty with the PDM, if you understand it very well, it's a very good and comprehensive model that once it is properly implemented, it really changes the lives of Ugandans. And it is very well streamlined to the National Development Plan 4, which is now focusing on employment, looking at the increased household incomes and others. So it's not that the other ones are not talked of, but they are all integrated in the PDM model.
Okay, thank you so much for the clarification.
Just to add on that, the challenge we are having, and we have mentioned it, community awareness is very important. Whenever you talk about PDM, people just think of one pillar, which is financial inclusion. They are not looking at other pillars. They just look at money. That is the third pillar among the 7 pillars. Thank you.
And if you don't look at the other pillars, it means that even when you get the money, you're going to squander it.
Very good, because you need to understand all the pillars such that when you get the money, it becomes a catalyst for you to go through the other pillars and move very fast.
Thank you so much. And we are coming to a close, but here is a comment from Bate Charles, who says, let me thank Honorable Byakatonda and Mr. Asimwe for the wonderful insights. And he says, why don't we reduce on the registration monitoring of SACCO's procedures so that it's easy to form them? Very briefly, Mr. Asimwe.
Yeah, very good question. But of course, It's a process, and together with the ministry, because we have already received this complaint, together with the Ministry of Trade and with the support of government, we are looking at how best we can have a single regulator and a single law for all circles, so that monitoring, supervision, and regulation of these circles is premised at one center using the same law. So the question is valid, because currently we have that legal challenge where we are where there is a situation, and now I want to request the Honorable Byakatonda, this is an issue of Parliament, that we have a legal lacuna whereby some circles need to go to Bank of Uganda, others needed to go to UMRA, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Then with the amendment of the COP law, they need to go to the registrar. So we need one home.
Thank you.
Like in Kenya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable, what would be your parting remarks to Ugandans?
Wakabi, there is money in UDB, it's also doing that. Bank of Uganda on agricultural loans is also available. Then I want to encourage other people to look at bigger programs. For example, recently, there is a fund in the Post Bank, which is helping people about 50 acres, and they are doing such specific things. And then private microfinance, they should also look at that. But of course, on the issue of reducing on costs of forming circles,
yes,
it's a cost sharing at times, because most times when things are free, people also intend to abuse. But I think it's an area we can look at. That would call for appropriation of money to the cooperative sector to ensure that at least they can do it. But I think it's something we should analyze and see how workable it can be.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming through.
Welcome.
It's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Honorable, thank you so much.
Welcome.
And Mr. Simwe, thank you.
Thank
yes.
you. We wish all Ugandans a happy International
Labor Day.
Labor Day celebrations tomorrow.
Which is happening tomorrow in
Nakapiripirit.
Nakapiripirit.
We are all invited as workers.
All right, all of us are invited. I'll end with a comment from Tumwine James Francis, who says cooperatives would actually be a good policy for transforming people from subsistence to money economy, for instance, job creation. However, the challenge is that the spirit of integrity and accountability is not value chained by its stakeholders, so cooperative members deserve to have equal rights and benefits. However, we credit those who follow the policies as required. This is from James Tumwine in Chankwanzi. Thank you so much, James, and the others that have sent us feedback. We'll catch you again tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning. Good morning.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Step into a world of excellence, comfort, and pride with Royal Foam Furniture, crafted to perfection right here in Uganda. We bring you state-of-the-art living room furniture and bedding products at affordable prices. Our wide variety of mattresses include orthopedic, pillow top, spring mattresses suitable for institutions like hotels, and many others for home comfort. With every piece telling a story of royal excellence, our products are built with the highest quality materials made to last. Experience royalty with Royal Foam Furniture, proudly made in Uganda, so buy Uganda and build Uganda. Visit our showrooms at Ginger Road, Chambogo Junction, Bukota Chisasi Road, and on Victoria Mall, Entebbe, on the first floor.
When you want to relax your body and refresh your mind, welcome to Hotel La Confidential, Aroa's premier destination for luxury and comfort. The only hotel in Aroa City offering a serene atmosphere, breathtaking scenery. Come and discover our exclusive wellness club with packages that include a fully equipped gym, a rejuvenating sauna, steam bath, and a great sky blue swimming pool. For events, our state-of-art conference halls and versatile event spaces are perfect for hosting shows, wedding receptions, birthdays, and more. Come and enjoy our cinema hall and unisex saloon, all designed to meet your entertainment and grooming needs. Bring your family and let your kids splash around in our beautiful kids water park. We are located on Aroa Pakwachi Highway in the heart of Aroa City. Don't wait. Visit us on www.hotelconfidential.com or call us on 0761 688 181.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit, and I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
Junko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, This.
When you want to relax your body and refresh your mind, welcome to Hotel La Confidential, Aroa's premier destination for
I'd love to take this opportunity to thank our President, Yoweri Kaguta Trihabura Museveni, by coming up with a Myoga program. We started in 2021 as Kasumi Parish Carpenters and Myoga Circle. When we received this amount of 30 million, we had a problem, we had a challenge of machines. We used to carry our wood and we would carry it up to Waise to be worked on. So when we got this chance, we are able to buy machines to ease our work of carpentry. At the moment, we are a number composed of 140 members. We have the women who come in and do saloon chairs. We have the men doing 3-drawer tables, 2-drawer tables, and different kind of furniture. Before the Myoga program came in, we had a lot of crimes taking place on this road. When this Myoga program came up, we managed to collect these youth. We gave them hope that you can change from stealing, and we can give you skill so that you be someone in the society that will even help another person.
Kansoke ddala okwebaza omukulembeze w'eggwanga olw'emirimu emirungi gy'ataddemu ngaffe abavubuka. Nze nno nze omu ku abo abaabeeranga ku kkubo okwo emisana n'ekiro ng'oluusi olw'okuba naffe tunoonya ekyokulya nga gwa kiyina oba mmwe twakiyitanga b'amalala bagenda beerabisa nga tubagwamu munnange era nga tuba tulina obikuggyako naffe ne tubaawo. Naye munnange neebaza kyamani wange wa wano yankwatako nno wamu ne bannange twatandika okukozesa mashini zino, tandika okuwawula, okulanda, okukola dizayini, emmeeza zino tuzifulumya, entebe bwe ziti. Tulina emirimu gye tutandikirako emyangu okugeza ng'okufulumya obumotoka buno. Kano akamotoka n'omwana omuto w'emyaka 5 akafulumya. Bw'ova mu kufulumya akamotoka kano owawula, okukwata oluwawu n'owawula emmeeza ng'eno n'ebeera smooth. Oluvaawo nga bakutwala ku mashini eno olubaawo lukolebwa oti lutambe. Bwe ntyo ndi wa mukisa byonna saabisasulira. Najja wano ne baŋŋamba President Museveni bino ebyuma yabituwa. Byammwe mulina okuba nga mubikozesa. Omukisa ne ngutwala. Era neebaza kuba kati ne bwe mba nvudde wano ne ŋŋenda ewalala. Ne bwe ŋŋenda Sudan nsobola okusigala nga ndi mu mulimu gwe gumu ogw'obubazzi ne gumbeezaawo wamu ne famire yange. Ku saving wange bimu ku byentereka bwe bampa akasente kange nfulumya emmeeza yange eno bino kiri wano si kyakiyamaani waffe nedda wano tulinawo itemu zaffe kati ku ssaawa eno zenjogera wano ninawo emmeeza ezange 5 n'entebe 12 ezitambulira ku mmeeza ezo nga zange era nga zo ne baba bazitunze wali sente baziwanze oluusi emirimu n'emirala ne gijja ne bagala twafunye omulimu bwe guti mujje mufulumye entebe wano zino bwe zitimu gakukola sente bwe kityo. Emyoga gino kuba nagyegattako bingi byenfunye. Edda nze nalinga sisobola kusasula nnyumba gye mbeeramu era nja kunoonya gye ŋŋenda okusula mu mifulejje era eyo mifulejje gye ŋŋenda okusanga ote oli ajja atamidde nga ye ate alina n'essimu gy'amulisa. Kale ebintu ng'ebyo nze kati nina wensula era saawa weziwera nti zino saawa zakwebaka olwo nga nsimbula nga ŋŋenda neebaka nawasa tadde n'abaana nno munnange sebo kulembeze weebale bageto yuti mwe naje muli wabweru eyo temutya temwerumaluma nkata temudda mu biki temulobera mu project za government kuba zino project ziriwo kutuyamba ffe zaffe zirina kutuyimusa kuteeka ku ddaala ddala gwe lwonazoberamu abalala bazeegaseemu ffe nga tukola ki bweiba bwe bityo.
Because of this Myoga program, we have been able to pick such different youth, mentor them, we train them. After learning, they also go up, even start their businesses. We have people buying from us, schools, we have factories, companies. They come and give us very juicy contracts. And out of that, that's how we've managed to accumulate this amount of saving of 70 million. So I would love to thank the President of Uganda that because of the Emyoga program, we've done what they call mindset change. Those who used to think of going for prostitution, we've captured them and changed their mind. They are here trying to do work, trying to get skills. Those used to steal, they are also here trying to get skills. We have been job seekers, but now we are no longer job seekers. We are job creators.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project that answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
Why do you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers? You bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit. And I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
The circle started 5 years back with 15 members who were part of the executive, and we managed to use the same 15 members to mobilize the youth and come in to make the 16 associations. So each member took a thought of gathering, mobilizing the 15 people to make associations. So the circle was established. We happened to have 229 members that qualified for 30 millions, which we got in 2021. We used the 30 millions from the presidential initiative to buy the 6 motorcycles, which was a small number to benefit the 229 members, but we managed to use it. The 6 border helped us to go under saving culture. We managed to group our members into 15-15 for saving culture. So the saving culture is 15 groups, they could get 12,000 per day, which 12,000 at the end of the month manages to buy one motorcycle. That one motorcycle is shared among the 15, so they vote who to take it. The 15 kept on until the 15 months, every member had to get one motorcycle with saving culture. As I say, we managed to get 84 motorcycles from today's report. On daily, a rider, you move Kawempe, Nakawaru, Makinde, you Kampala Metropolitan, and at the end of the day, you have 50,000. That one, we call it average day. There is a time you make 100, that is, we call it the golden day. So most of our members came without anything to use or to support their family. So we helped them by giving them the border as one of the job opportunity the circle is offering to the community.
Kunso kwebaza President Museveni olw'enkola eno gyatutereddewo otukulaakulanya nga najja wano mu ssaka eno nga sirina piki era ndi omu ku bammemba abaasooka okufuna lupiki. Kati abavubuka abali bateesobola kugula piki wano kiba kyangu. Ogula buguzi migabo $5,000 ng'ofuna piki ng'otandika obulamu. Ate ku layisi tuli bangi. Kuba omuntu tolina miliyoni 5 zigula mpya 5 kitundu. Oba oguze emigabo ate nga gijjo n'otandikira okwo. Tolaba nti oba ofunyemu. Abantu abali batalina mirimu baagifuna. Kuba guno mulimu nno gwennyini tugufunyemu singa simaanyi ga mulimu guno. Kitegeeza nandibadde sikola ki? Sina ngeri kigenyiza bikwasaganya. Abaana basoma era muki okulya byonna bwe kuba kwesanyusaamu.